We are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, entitled Purusha Shukta Confirmed, number text 27. Gyatayo Matayas Shaiva Prayashitam Sarmapanam Purushavyaver Ete Sambara Sambrita Maya Gatayo Matayas Chaiva Prayaschitam Samapadam Purushavaya Verete Sambara Sambrita Maya Gataya Progress to the ultimate goal. Vishnu. Mataya. Worshipping the demigods. Cha. As also. Iva. Certainly. Prayaschitam. Compensation. Sarmapanam. Ultimate offering. Purusha. Personality of Godhead. Avayavai. From the parts of the body of the personality of Godhead. Ete. These. Sambrita. Ingredients. Sambrita. Were arranged. Maya. By me. Translation. Thus I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients and paraphernalia of sacrifice from the personal bodily parts of the personality of Godhead. By invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal Vishnu was gradually attained, and thus compensation and ultimate offering were complete. Purport. In this verse, special stress is given to the person of the Supreme Lord, and not to his impersonal Brahmajyoti as being the source of all supplies. Narayan, the Supreme Lord, is the goal of sacrificial results, and therefore the Vedic hymns are ultimately meant for attaining this goal. Human life is thus made successful by pleasing Narayan and getting entrance into the direct association of Narayan in the spiritual kingdom of Vaikuntha. Durgamay parimendasya skala pate gatir muhusaki payustadana Shanta valambanam mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yat kripatam aham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarine Agyanati mirandasya jananjana sulakya Yakshur militam yena tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha. So the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions very, very fundamental point, the essence of the Vedic scriptures and the cause of a lot of debates throughout the history of time. That is, that God, in his ultimate form, the Absolute, is a person. Our traits, our particular personalities, our characteristics, within all of us, we have so many emotions, joyful, happy, sad, expectations, disappointments, feelings. So we have all these. Where do they come from? Ultimately, they've been created and they come from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're a manifestation of his emotions. How is it that God can't have these emotions if we have these emotions? But people conjecture that if God had a form like us, he was like us, then like us he becomes limited to one form and one set of particular characteristics. So this is people's limited concept of God, that all these traits, qualities, characteristics, they're superimposed over God. So it doesn't matter how wonderful, how beautiful everything is, still whatever superlative is there, it's still limited, because our concept of limited. But actually it's the other way around. God is unlimited. So how do we understand the unlimitedness of God? Through the process of realization. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it says, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnanat Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yad Haitakam Jnanam Cha Yad Haitakam Vairagyam Jnanam and Vairagyam, knowledge and detachment. So by rendering Bhakti Yoga, devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we develop causeless knowledge and attachment to the Supreme Lord. That is the process, Bhakti Yoga, Jnanam and Vairagyam, knowledge and detachment. So to please the Lord, we perform this Bhakti Yoga, and there is a reciprocation with the Lord, a personal reciprocation. He reveals himself. If we don't please Krishna, then the knowledge that we have about everything, about God, it just remains theoretical. We just continue to speculate about God. So it says, Anya Blasita Sunyam Gyanam Kamidi Janam Anukulyana Krishna Nam Shilanam Bhakti Uttamam, that one should render the Lord, the loving Lord, devotional service, and with the desire for no material profit, no gain of knowledge, just with the intention of pure devotional service. And that is the highest principle of life, to render devotional service. So that is difficult sometimes, that generally the living entity, when he does something, expects some reward. That is the principles of the mainstream religion. But Anukulyana Krishnanam, unmotivated and unalloyed devotional service, we don't want anything. We don't want to gain, we don't want to be knowledgeable. We don't want to be a professor, profess to know everything about anything. Hey, we get that through devotional service or material acquisitions, all of these. Actually, we just want that process of bhakti. What is it? Well, it's surrender, service to the Lord. So by meditating on our bhakti, then we attain the Lord. So that's the highest principle of life. That all said can be really easy for us, we're here, but it's also hard at the same time. It's a double-edged sword. It's easy and it's hard. Why is it easy? Well, the process of bhakti, here we're in the temple, particularly on New Govardhana, we have such beautiful lordships, so we're rendering service, we're cooking for the Lord, we're dressing the Lord, we're making beautiful garlands, we're doing the Lord's... Everything's to do with Krishna here. So if we just meditate on our service, we're performing Bhakti Yoga and we're becoming liberated, causeless knowledge and detachment. Just like I just read on New Govardhana residence that Bhakta Dev has put his hand up to cook the feast. Which feast is it? Prabhupada's feast?
Holiday Punim.
Holiday Punim for the appearance day of Lord Balaram. We'll give that a plug right now. It's on Monday, is it?
Sunday.
This Sunday, in 2 days' time. So already everybody's meditating on the feast. What are we going to cook for the feast? Everybody's Krishna conscious, right? So some people are saying Varuni juice, and other people are putting up curd pakoras. So all meditating on the Lord. This is part of our bhakti, our meditation. So absorption and awareness, that is the process of bhakti. There's cases where there's a case given in the one of the Smriti Shastras about the South Indian Brahmana who was so intent on serving. He didn't have many possessions, he wasn't very knowledgeable, but he was very dedicated to serving Krishna. So more and more he became focused on Krishna, on cooking for Krishna. In his mind, he didn't have many possessions, so he saw that through all day, about waking the Lord up, dressing the Lord, in his mind, cooking for the Lord, and he gradually became totally immersed, that he was very hardly aware of his existence in the material world. He was just completely engrossed within his mind serving the Lord. And one day he was cooking sweet rice for the Lord in his mind, and he's wondering, is it hot enough? Because actually sweet rice should be served cold. So he put his finger in the sweet rice, and lo and behold, his dreams were shattered and his finger was burnt. So that's the Lord's reciprocation, and it is said that shortly after that the Lord called him back to the spiritual world. His consciousness was completely one with the Lord. So that's the process of bhakti. It's easy. But on the other hand, it's hard. Why is it hard? Because we place our interests first. The Lord second, we're first. So we get into competition with the Lord. Slowly our interest in serving the Lord will wane, if that is the case, that we're thinking we have to do this, we have to do that. We'll just squeeze in some service to the Lord in between, but really have to do what we have to do. So the Lord is like a friend. So when we see we have a friend, we all have friends, and we develop friendships. So sometimes the friendships are intensified. Normally that is the case. We have a friend, we develop a bond, we become very, very close, we maintain the closeness, common interest, and gradually, somehow along the line, due to time, the friendship begins to drop off a bit, maybe a change of ashram, change of location, change of services. And sooner or later that friend becomes like a distant memory who we see every now and then. Now we don't want this to happen to Krishna. Krishna is our eternal friend. But sometimes we see that happens, that we have this momentum where we come and we just surcharge with Krishna consciousness. Everything is so good. Then the hard part starts, that we have to place Krishna in front of our desires, and sometimes that is very, very easy, very hard. Why is it very hard? Because our desires are multifarious. We have different stages where desires manifest. It's said in the Shastra that we have desires that have already manifest, we've lived them out, we're fulfilling our desires at this point in time, and we have desires that haven't yet fructified in the future. They're the ones we want to watch. Just like I remember when I joined up as a brahmachari, it was fantastic. Anyabhilasita sunyam. I'm ready to go back to Godhead for the first 2 or 3 years. No problems. And someone said to me on the street, "You don't have any problems with the opposite sex or anything?" Not a bit. That was 3 years. 3 years, 2 months later, it was a different story. It was like this whole thing. Where did it come from? Where did these desires go? I didn't have them before. So these are the desires that are manifesting in the future. Well, we have to, through the process of bhakti, we have to maintain this steadiness, this friendship with the Lord. And if we have this consciousness, then it stays easy to be in the service of the Lord. What is really helpful here is the Archavigraha, is the deity worship, because the deity worship is like some of the 9 processes of bhakti. It's not only one, it's a lot of process there. Serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering prayers, offering your mind, offering your everything. So this is a personalisation of our relationship with the Lord. It is a personal. helps us understand and realize the form of the Lord. So sometimes people cannot grasp this. There was one particular incident, the Srila Prabhupada. He was giving a Pandal. Pandal. I'm not quite sure where. Maybe it was in Bombay. Quite a lot of people were there. And this man stood up and he said, "You are worshipping this deity. You are cooking, you are dressing, you are offering prayers, but everyone can see that this deity is just stone. So you are just wasting your time doing this. What is the purpose?" Srila Prabhupada looked at him. He said, "Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita Patram Puspam Bhavam Toyam Yomi Bhakti Prayachati," that if one offers me simply some fruit, flower, leaf or water, I will accept it. What's essential, of course, love and devotion. If that is the case, then I'm accepting this. So, who do we believe? Whose words do we believe? Krishna's words of Bhagavad Gita or the words of a loafer like you? So, in Padma Purana it also states that one who sees the Lord as stone, bronze or wood will also see the Guru as coming from a caste or a creed, also will regard the Vaishnav in that similar manner. He will see prasadam as ordinary food and the holy name as a combination of letters. This creates a mentality that is tantamount to the hellish mentality of people in hell, the hellish mentality where no success is guaranteed at all in one's life and subsequent lifetimes. It's offensive, very offensive mentality. Seeing, serving, worshipping the Lord in His different forms is synonymous with when we read and chant about the Lord's pastimes. So first of all we do service to Krishna, and then we hear about Krishna's pastimes, and then the realization comes that we understand more about the person, the Supreme Person, and Krishna reciprocates and He reveals Himself in the heart, knowledge, jnanam, that comes within our heart. So we have to clearly understand this fact that we are reciprocating with Krishna in His deity form. The deity is simply not a representative of the Lord, like a statue, but is actually the Supreme Lord. The yogis, so-called transcendentalists, make this mistake. They worship the form of the Lord to go beyond. They use it as a stepping stone to understand God in His unlimitedness. No form. Form is limited. So we were discussing that before, that the form is limited. So therefore we go to the unlimited. They use the example of air. Air can go everywhere. Air can be all pervading, and we can understand the nature that air is everywhere. But that is our material senses. Don't go to sleep on me now, or otherwise you might wake up an impersonalist. You think that air is everything and is unlimited forms the same. No, the transcendental form of the Lord has no limitations also, but they don't understand that. There are so many examples of the nature of the Lord in His deity form. It's like, one example is when Narayan Rishi were meditating in Himalayas, and King Indra became very, very envious, said that they're meditating, they want my kingdom, they want to become king of heaven. So he sent Cupid in the form of so many apsaras to attract them. But Narayan Rishi, they produced more apsaras, more beautiful than those apsaras. And Cupid was attracted by the Urvasi came out of that actually. So Cupid was defeated. In the same instance too, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, so another example in Chaitanya Bhagavat, when Lord Chaitanya Nimai Pandal was staying at the house of Srinivas, he went on the altar and he called up the devotees, and each particular devotee that worshipped particular aspect of him, he revealed his form, just like with Murari, he revealed the form of Lord Ram. And so many other devotees revealed the form of Lord Nrsimha, all from Lord Chaitanya, all coming from him. In the Garga Samhita, when all the demigods went to see the Lord in Vrindavan, Lord Vishnu took him to Vrindavan, and there was Krishna in all his beautiful, in all his awesome glory and beauty, and all these incarnations were just coming out of the ocean and coming into the form of the Lord, being swallowed up. So the Lord is, even though we see that form of the Lord, it is unlimited, it's all pervasive, but it's localized at the same time. It's called the Chincha Beta Beta Tattva, simultaneously one and different. So the Lord explains in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Mayam tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtini, that by me, my unmanifested form, the whole universe is pervaded. Everything is in me, but I'm not in them. So Srila Prabhupada explains that the Lord's spiritual energies, he explains in the purport there that Lord's spiritual energies are not visible to the material senses, because the Lord has two energies. He has the spiritual energy, which is the superior energy, and he has the material energy, which is the inferior energy. And guess what we can see? We can see the inferior energy. So that is there for us. All the elements are there. We're relating to all these elements. But we cannot see that spiritual energy of the Lord. We need eyes to see that. And how do we see that? Through bhakti. Premanjana bhakti yogi, premanjana chirto bhakti vilochanena. That one whose eyes are tinged with the self of love can actually see the Lord. So that is a point that is gone missing with the learned transcendentalists. The transcendentalists, they are thinking, it's like described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedanti tattvavidas tattvam yadyanavadayam brahmati paramatmiti bhagavaniti subjate, that the transcendentalist sees that form, that spiritual energy, and he relates to that spiritual energy, but that energy is simply the Brahman. It's the Brahmati Paramatmati, that Brahman effulgence is just like that shining light of the personal Lord, and he wants to merge with that. But it's said, the saying is that he's blinded by the light. But once you merge with that, merge your essence with the Lord, still you're not happy, because actually you're still that supreme, you're still that person that's part of the Supreme. So we're trying to see through the illusion. So they have to, the transcendentalists try to see through the illusion, but they make the mistake that everything is illusion. Not this, not that, everything is the illusion, except for our very, very essence. We had the pleasure of one certain Rob here. He was a lovely man. He was here with us for a while. He's gone now because of border closures, but Rob was telling us that he was very much interested in spirituality. He was living in India for 17 years, and he was on a particular community, the Aurobindo community. It's a very, very spiritual community. But he didn't impress the devotees very much, because the fact was that this spiritual community was very much involved in understanding the very essence of ourselves and the philosophy of illusion. So nothing was real. But we explained to him that that illusion is there. There's more than that. There's the person there. It's like Vedanti Tat Tattva Vidas. That's the first energy. So you try to achieve that state of consciousness, and once again, because you're unhappy, you come back again. It's not the ultimate consciousness. So he was thinking, like everybody else, that is the spiritual, highest spiritual energy. Like he was quoting from the Bible. We were listening to him. I was just listening to his conversation. He said that God made man in his image. You all heard that from Genesis. So he was saying that actually that's not quite right, because how could we, man, be like God? Once again, he's thinking that God is limited. We can't be like God. God is more than that. So that wasn't quite right. He was saying that actually God is energy. So we're a part of that energy of God. So God didn't really mean image. He meant that part of energy. So that illusory energy that is there, we're in the illusion of body. So when we really understand self, we'll go back to the unmanifest, the Brahman. Unfortunately, the Christians are also thinking in this manner these days, the theologians, because if you don't understand that God's energy is the material and God's energy is spiritual at the same time, he has both energies, you don't understand his spiritual energy, you will focus on that material energy, and you will understand God to be limited, just like they paint God in the pictures there in the Sistine Chapel in St. Peter's. They have God as an old man with a beard. That's a natural conclusion, isn't it? That if you're thinking that God is material, then he grows old. But actually, if we understand the nature of God, that is spiritual, that is eternal, is eternally youthful. There's no old, there's no decay, there's no deterioration, and there's no lapse of time. Time is eternal. Just in the material world here, time is very limiting, and we notice time by the fact that we're born and we die and we get sick and all that. Time is notable by its absence, but it is still there, helping the spiritual pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So, these people do not understand that actually we cannot be like, what their understanding is that we cannot be like the image of the Lord because we're material, and so the Lord is limited. But actually we can understand that the Lord's creation is material creation, that he can put us together in our material bodies, and it's brilliant. It's just like we use the example of a young child. The first thing that the child gets when he's young is some plasticine, right? They love it. You give them, have fun. You get all these coloured plasticines and you make things, you make shapes. Oh, look, here's a car. Make mummy, make daddy, so they do that. So this is practical experience here. I'm talking about my grandchild here. So 1 year later, it's an amazing phenomenon now. It's the Legos. We go through this Lego phenomenon I've never experienced before, but they get into Legos, little blocks, and you build little figures that you like. And the other day I went past a Lego shop, a whole Lego shop. I never knew they existed. They were just awesome. They could spend a lot of money in there. They got all sorts of little towns and villages and personalities and rocket ships that you place in front of a screen and it shows you the 3D. And you can build the little blocks now, and right at the window they've got this whole scenario of like the Gold Coast. Someone's done the Gold Coast out of the Lego blocks. First of all, I thought it was a photo. No, that's all these little blocks. You have this artist that does it. So, what to speak of the shapes, our shapes, who we are. We're blood and bone, and we've been put together. We've got veins and we've got organs, and we function, and there's backup systems. We've got this amazing body, and that's been created by Lord Brahman, agent of the Supreme. So this is the supreme creation of the Lord. But we don't actually want to misinterpret the fact that the Lord is limited because he's like us. No, he's not a material body. The Lord is the supreme creator. So it's a known fact. So we are going to the source. So Krishna, he's the source of material and the spiritual, and also is not only beautiful in his spiritual form, but we can also relate to the material nature too. That material nature, because it's a creation of Krishna, it's beautiful as well. Just like for those nature lovers, we have the trees and the bees and the beautiful flowers. So much nicety out there. For the scientists, they've got the beauty of the atom, all the intricacies of the atom which keep them fascinated forever. Then for the farmers, we have the seasons. It's always a challenge, the season. There's something new coming up. It's sensational. And then when they have those crops coming, just like if you haven't been to the Western Garden lately, just go and have a look. It is just completely mind-blowing how much is there. Acres and acres of vegetables there. Just amazing how this is just happening due to the influence, of course, the influence of the hard work of Vijay and all the volunteers, but the influence of the Lord and all the seasons and the rains, and that is just Lord's material energy. And for the poets, they're amazed by the moon. It's a full moon today, so it's worth a mention, giving it a mention. And so the sky is nothing. You look at the sky at night, there's a few little stars, but you put the moon in the sky, and the moon just makes everything iridescent and beautiful. So Krishna's compared to the moon. So Krishna is awesome. So we also try to think of Krishna in different material terms. So like we say, Krishna, he's black. Or to be more specific, he's the colour of a monsoon cloud. Well, it's sort of like a monsoon cloud, but he's not, because we can't actually realise Krishna's spiritual form, but he's like that. He's beyond that. But we can still experience the nature of Krishna. So whatever's there in the material universe, we just utilise it in Krishna's service, and then that dispels the illusion that if we are separate from Krishna and that we're always connected with Krishna, and that is the main purpose. It's Bhakti Yoga. So thank you for listening, and does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes?
You said that we can't see. Thank you, class. You said that we can't see Krishna's form. Our material senses. And so we look at the deities with our material senses. And you said that also the deities are not stone, they are Krishna. So does that mean that we're seeing Krishna when we're looking at deities?
It depends on where your vision is at. If your senses have become spiritualized and you've heard from the people who know, from the sources, from the spiritual master about the spiritual nature of Krishna, and you accept Krishna in his absolute form, in his name, in his form, in his paraphernalia, and you accept that and you relate to Krishna in that form, then you begin a spiritual relationship where you become spiritualized. And then the more you become spiritualized, the more you have that reciprocal spiritual relationship with the Lord. It's very difficult in the beginning. Lord's very attractive, so he attracts people by his beauty. So there is a relationship there. But a lot of it's material, like we see the deities, we see the bhakti that's going in. We explain to people there are 10 pujaris in the morning making beautiful clothing arrangements for the deities. There's bathing going on, there's flowers. They appreciate it and they go, wow, it's beautiful, the colour's beautiful, everything's beautiful. But then there is a process of spiritualisation. So the more you understand about the spiritual nature of the Lord, the more spiritualised you become. And that's the process of bhakti working upon you. Jai, thank you very much. Just filling in for Garuda today, who cannot make it here at the moment. He's limited by material laws and regulations. So, Hare Krishna.